The first encounter. The dimly lit Karen bar was filled with a haze of smoke and the low hum of alien conversations. Varys, a grizzled veteran with a metallic left eye that whirred faintly, clinked his mug of Crick's ale against Zolek's. The two old soldiers sat in their usual corner, nursing their drinks and memories. "Did you hear the latest about those damn humans?" Varys's gruff voice cut through the bar's chatter. Zolek grunted, leaning back in his seat. "I stopped listening to rumors about those upstart primates long ago." Varys ignored his friend's apathy and continued. "Remember when we first encountered them during the Crixen campaign? We thought their primitive weapons were a joke." Zolek straightened, his eyes clearing. "I remember. We laughed our asses off at those ridiculous rifles and machine guns. Our boys had plasma cannons and rail guns that could level a building with one shot. And there those humans were, armed with what looked like children's toys. But then, Varys's face took on a distant look. We saw those toys in action. It was on Crixa 4, Varys began, his voice low. A God's forsaken swamp planet where the fungus grew taller than trees. Our platoon got pinned down by a Crixan ambush. We sent out an SOS, but command said the nearest backup was hours away. We thought we were dead meat." Zolak leaned forward, fascinated. "And then he appeared," Varys said, his eyes reflecting the harsh glare of the bar's single flickering tube. "A lone human soldier, built like an ox, striding out of that fungal hell with the biggest damn gun I'd ever seen." "What was it?" Zolak asked, curiosity piqued. Sergeant Rice called it a Gatling gun. An ancient design from centuries ago on Earth. It had 6 rotating barrels allowing an insanely high rate of fire. He'd modified it to use our standard power cells, so he basically never had to reload. "But how could it be effective against advanced Crixan armor?" Zolak asked incredulously. "The real secret was the ammunition," Varys explained. "Solid slugs of dense metal. When he opened up on the Crixans, it was like a meteor shower tearing through their ranks." Zolak whistled. "I bet that pissed them right off." Varys chuckled. "Oh, they adapted quickly enough. Sent in their heavy infantry, covered head to toe in reactive plating. But Rice just shifted aim and started popping off shots at their joints and weak points. Blew out a knee here, vaporized an elbow there. The bastard barely even slowed down." "Incredible," Zolak breathed. "But he couldn't hold off a whole army forever." "You'd think so," Varys said, leaning back. "But I shit you not, when the Crixans tried to Zerg rush him, he pulls out the biggest hand cannon I've ever seen. Called it a revolver. Nailed the battlemaster right through the face with one shot." Zolak shook his head in disbelief. "A revolver that can take out a Crixan battlemaster? Ridiculous." "That's the beauty of human weapons," Varys said. "They don't rely on fancy energy beams or superheated plasma. It's all about raw kinetic power, and they've spent centuries perfecting the art of killing with it." Zolak's eyes widened as Varys continued. "And that's just the small stuff. You should have seen their spacecraft. They called it the F-41 Starhawk. It could outmaneuver Crixan fighters and fly from a planet's surface straight into orbit." "Impossible," Zolak muttered. "The energy requirements alone. Fusion drive coupled with a series of force fields creating a frictionless bubble," Varys explained. "But the real kicker was their artillery. Howitzers. Massive artillery pieces logging shells filled with white phosphorus. When those shells burst, they sprayed burning chemicals everywhere. Crixans in their supposedly impenetrable armor were running, screaming, cooking inside their own suits." Zolak sat back, shaking his head. "Unbelievable. The coordination, the precision. And their tanks. Abrams," Varys said with a grim nod. "Multiple layers of composite materials, self-sealing polymer armor. Their main guns fired depleted uranium rounds that could punch through meters of reinforced concrete." Zolak was silent for a moment, processing everything. "What about the tanks? These Abrams you mentioned. Varys's eye glinted with something almost like admiration. You should have seen them, Zolek. Massive hulking beasts of metal and ceramic. The Crixans threw everything at them. Plasma cannons, antimatter missiles, even some sort of gravity-based weapon. The Abrams just kept coming. Incredible, Zolek muttered. And their ground forces. Rice and his men were something else, Varys said. They used adaptive camouflage suits to blend into the terrain. Crawled through half a mile of razor wire and minefields, silent as ghosts. Then they called in an airstrike on their own position. Zolek's mouth fell open. They called in an airstrike on their own position. Varys chuckled. Those free electron lasers carved apart the bunker walls, exposing the Crixans inside. Rice opened up with his Gatling gun, pouring lead into the breach. It was over in seconds. Zolek sat in stunned silence. That's incredible. The coordination, the precision. That's humans for you, Varys said. Ruthless, adaptable killers. Rice knew they couldn't hold out forever, so he had his demolitions man rig up the bunker's reactor to blow. Took the entire complex and the Crixan QRF with it. Zolek was silent for a long moment. To have the courage, the sheer audacity to pull off something like that. It's humbling. Rice may have been human, Varys said, but he had the heart of a Caterian warrior. I'll never forget him, or what he did for us that day. The Galactic Council's reaction. The Galactic Council convened in the Grand Hall of Viridian Prime, a planet known for its neutrality and advanced diplomatic facilities. Representatives from over 100 species gathered to discuss the latest developments in the ongoing conflicts. The humans' unexpected prowess in warfare was a topic of hot debate. Councillor Xylar, a towering insectoid being with iridescent wings, took the floor. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, we must address the recent actions of the Terran Federation. Their use of ancient kinetic weapons has proven devastatingly effective against the Crixan Empire. We must understand and respond to this new threat. A murmur spread through the assembly as holographic displays showed footage of human soldiers in action. The scenes of destruction, particularly the deployment of white phosphorus and depleted uranium rounds, elicited gasps of shock and horror. Councillor Thylax, a sleek and serpentine being from the water world of Hydros, hissed, "The humans' tactics are barbaric. Their weapons are relics from a savage past, yet they wield them with frightening efficiency. How can we counter such brutality?" Councillor Murris, a feline humanoid with keen eyes and sharp claws, raised a paw. "We must not underestimate the humans. They have shown remarkable adaptability and ingenuity. Their ability to integrate ancient technology with modern advancements is unparalleled." The discussion grew heated as various councillors voiced their opinions. Some advocated for immediate action against the Terran Federation, fearing that their aggressive tactics would destabilize the delicate balance of power in the galaxy. Others called for caution, suggesting diplomatic avenues to better understand the humans' motivations and capabilities. Councillor Xylar raised his voice to bring order. "We must reach a consensus. The Terran Federation's actions cannot go unchallenged, but we must proceed with wisdom. I propose a delegation to Earth to engage in direct talks with the human leaders and assess their intentions." The proposal was met with mixed reactions, but ultimately, it was agreed that a delegation would be sent. The council selected representatives from several species, each known for their diplomatic skills and strategic acumen. As the meeting adjourned, Councillor Thylax approached Xylar. "Do you truly believe the humans can be reasoned with? Their actions speak of a species that values victory above all else." Xylar's wings shimmered as he replied, "I do not know, Thylax, but we must try. For the sake of peace in our galaxy, we must understand these humans and find a way to coexist. Their strength is formidable, but perhaps their wisdom can match it." The delegation to Earth. The delegation's arrival on Earth was met with great fanfare. The humans, ever the gracious hosts, had prepared a grand reception in the heart of New Terra. the sprawling capital city of the Terran Federation. Towering skyscrapers of glass and steel stood as a testament to humanity's resilience and ingenuity. Councillor Xylar led the delegation, accompanied by Councillor Thilax, Councillor Miris, and several aides from various species. They were greeted by President Elena Martinez, a woman of commanding presence and sharp intellect. "Welcome to Earth," President Martinez said, extending a hand. "We are honored to host this delegation from the Galactic Council. Let us hope that our discussions will lead to mutual understanding and lasting peace." Councillor Xylar inclined his head. "Thank you, President Martinez. We come with open minds and the hope of forging a path forward together." The initial meetings were cordial, with both sides expressing their desire for cooperation. The delegation was given a tour of Earth's technological marvels, from advanced fusion reactors to AI-driven research facilities. They were impressed by the humans' achievements, but also wary of their military capabilities. During a private dinner at the presidential palace, Councillor Thilax addressed the elephant in the room. "President Martinez, we cannot ignore the reports of your military's recent actions. The use of ancient kinetic weapons, particularly white phosphorus and depleted uranium, has caused great concern among the members of the Galactic Council." President Martinez nodded, her expression serious. "I understand your concerns, Councillor Thilax. Our military tactics are driven by necessity. We face formidable adversaries who threaten our existence. The weapons we use are effective, but we do not deploy them lightly." Councillor Miris interjected, "But surely there must be alternatives, more humane methods that do not result in such widespread destruction." President Martinez sighed. "War is never humane, Councillor Miris. We strive to minimize civilian casualties and collateral damage. But when faced with an enemy like the Crixans, we must use every tool at our disposal to protect our people." Councillor Xylar leaned forward. "President Martinez, we propose a joint task force, a collaboration between the Terran Federation and the Galactic Council to develop new technologies and strategies that can defend against threats without resorting to such extreme measures." The room fell silent as the proposal hung in the air. President Martinez considered the offer carefully. "A joint task force. It is an intriguing idea. If it can lead to more effective and humane solutions, then I am willing to support it." The delegation spent several more days on Earth, discussing the details of the proposed collaboration. They visited military academies, research facilities, and even a few cultural sites to gain a deeper understanding of humanity. By the end of their visit, a framework for the joint task force had been established, and there was a sense of cautious optimism. As the delegation prepared to depart, President Martinez stood with them on the tarmac. "Councillors, thank you for coming to Earth and engaging in these important discussions. Let us work together to build a future where peace and cooperation prevail." Councillor Xylar nodded. "Indeed, President Martinez, the galaxy will be watching our efforts closely. May our collaboration be a beacon of hope for all species." The delegation boarded their ship, leaving Earth with a newfound respect for humanity and a commitment to forging a path forward together. The journey ahead would be challenging, but they were determined to find a way to coexist in a galaxy fraught with dangers. The Joint Task Force. The establishment of the Joint Task Force marked a new era of cooperation between the Terran Federation and the Galactic Council. Scientists, engineers, and military strategists from multiple species came together to share knowledge and develop new technologies. The primary goal was to create defensive systems and weapons that could protect against threats without causing unnecessary harm. The headquarters for the task force was set up on the neutral world of Viridian Prime, a planet known for its advanced research facilities and commitment to peace. Representatives from various species, including humans, Crixans, Hydrosians, and Caterians, worked side by side, fostering a spirit of camaraderie and mutual respect. Dr. Helen Park, a leading human scientist, was appointed as the head of the task force. Her expertise in fusion technology and AI made her the ideal candidate to lead this ambitious project. She quickly earned the respect of her colleagues with her knowledge, dedication, and collaborative approach. "Our mission is clear," Dr. Park addressed the assembly during their first meeting. "We must develop technologies that can defend our worlds without resorting to the devastating tactics that have caused so much suffering. We have the combined knowledge and resources of the most advanced species in the galaxy. Together, we can achieve this." The initial focus was on developing advanced shielding technology. The goal was to create a system that could protect against both kinetic and energy-based attacks, rendering traditional weapons obsolete. Teams of scientists worked around the clock, experimenting with various materials and energy fields. Counselor Seiler visited the research facility regularly, keenly interested in the progress being made. "How are the tests going, Dr. Park?" he asked during one of his visits. "We're making significant progress," Dr. Park replied. "We've developed a prototype that can deflect energy beams and absorb kinetic impacts. The next step is to scale it up and integrate it into existing defense systems." Meanwhile, military strategists from different species collaborated on new tactics and training programs. They conducted joint exercises, simulating various scenarios to test the effectiveness of their innovations. The results were promising, and there was a growing sense of optimism. However, not everyone was pleased with the progress. Some factions within the Galactic Council were skeptical, fearing that the Terran Federation's influence would dominate the task force. There were whispers of dissent, and a few counselors openly questioned the wisdom of the collaboration. Counselor Philax, who had been wary from the start, voiced his concerns during a meeting. "We must ensure that this task force does not become a tool for human dominance. Our goal is to develop technologies that benefit all species, not just the Terran Federation." Dr. Park addressed the concerns with her usual calm demeanor. "I assure you, Counselor Philax, our work here is guided by principles of equality and mutual benefit. Every species represented in this task force has an equal voice, and our decisions are made collectively." The tensions were palpable, but the task force continued its work. Over the next several months, they made significant breakthroughs. They developed a new type of energy shield that could be deployed on a planetary scale, protecting entire cities from orbital bombardment. They also created non-lethal weapons designed to incapacitate rather than kill, offering a more humane alternative for ground combat. As the first anniversary of the task force approached, they held a grand demonstration of their achievements. Representatives from the Galactic Council and the Terran Federation gathered to witness the fruits of their labor. The demonstration began with the activation of the planetary shield. A series of drones launched simulated attacks, firing energy beams and kinetic projectiles at the protected area. The shield deflected and absorbed the attacks, leaving the city below untouched. Next, they showcased the non-lethal weapons. Soldiers from different species demonstrated the effectiveness of the new tools, neutralizing targets without causing permanent harm. The crowd watched in awe as the soldiers moved with precision and coordination, highlighting the potential for these innovations to change the nature of warfare. President Martinez, who had been invited to the demonstration, addressed the assembly. "What we have witnessed today is a testament to what we can achieve when we work together. The Joint Task Force has proven that we can develop technologies that protect without destroying, that we can find better ways to defend our worlds." Counselor Seiler echoed her sentiments. "This is only the beginning. Let us continue to build on this foundation of cooperation and mutual respect. Together, we can create a future where peace and security are not mutually exclusive." The demonstration was a resounding success, and the task force's achievements were celebrated across the galaxy. There was still much work to be done, but the progress made thus far was a beacon of hope. The Terran Federation and the Galactic Council had taken a significant step towards a more peaceful and cooperative future. Rising tensions. Despite the success of the Joint Task Force, tensions continued to simmer beneath the surface. Some factions within the Galactic Council remained distrustful of the Terran Federation, fearing that their growing influence would upset the balance of power. These fears were not entirely unfounded, as humanity's rapid advancements and assertive tactics had already reshaped the geopolitical landscape. Counselor Philax, always a skeptic, found himself increasingly isolated among his peers. He had seen the potential for cooperation, but he could not shake his wariness of the humans. He convened a meeting with a few like-minded counselors to discuss their concerns. "We must remain vigilant," Philax said, his serpentine eyes narrowing. "The humans have shown great capability, but also great ambition. If we are not careful, they will dominate this task force, and by extension, the Galactic Council." Counselor Reinar, a hulking reptilian being, nodded in agreement. "Their technological advancements are impressive, but they come with a cost. The weapons they develop, even the non-lethal ones, could be turned against us." Counselor Ilara, a lithe and graceful being from the arboreal world of Silvera, added, "We cannot afford to be complacent. We need safeguards to ensure that the power of the task force is not misused." Philax proposed a series of measures to increase oversight and accountability within the task force. These measures included more frequent audits, a rotating leadership structure, and enhanced transparency in decision-making processes. The counselors agreed to present these proposals to the Galactic Council at the next session. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Park and her team were unaware of the brewing dissent. They were focused on their latest project, a revolutionary propulsion system that could drastically reduce travel time between star systems. The implications for trade, exploration, and military deployment were profound. "This could change everything," Dr. Park said during a briefing with her team. "If we can perfect this technology, we can bring the galaxy closer together. Imagine the possibilities for cooperation and understanding." However, the excitement was tempered by the reality of the political landscape. As news of the propulsion system leaked, it fueled both hope and fear. Supporters saw it as a means to foster unity, while detractors viewed it as another potential tool for human dominance. Counselor Xylar, ever the diplomat, worked tirelessly to bridge the growing divide. He reached out to President Martinez, urging her to address the concerns head-on. "President Martinez, we cannot ignore the voices of dissent," Xylar said during a holo conference. "The success of the task force depends on trust and collaboration. We must address these fears openly and transparently." President Martinez agreed. "You're right, Counselor Xylar. I will address the Galactic Council and reaffirm our commitment to cooperation and mutual benefit. We have come too far to let mistrust derail our progress." At the next session of the Galactic Council, President Martinez delivered a heartfelt speech. She acknowledged the concerns and outlined the steps the Terran Federation was taking to ensure transparency and accountability. She emphasized the shared goals and mutual benefits of the task force's work. "Let us not forget why we embarked on this journey together," Martinez said. "We seek a future where all species can live in peace and security. The Terran Federation is committed to that vision, and we stand ready to work with the Galactic Council to achieve it." The speech had a calming effect, but the underlying tensions remained. The proposed oversight measures were debated and ultimately approved, adding another layer of complexity to the task force's operations. As the task force continued its work, the members were acutely aware of the political undercurrents. They redoubled their efforts to foster a spirit of unity and cooperation, knowing that the success of their mission depended not just on technological advancements, but on building and maintaining trust among all species. A new threat. Just as the Joint Task Force began to find its footing, a new threat emerged from the depths of space. The Zorth Imperium, a race of conquerors long thought dormant, resurfaced with a massive fleet. Their intentions were clear: to enslave or exterminate any species that stood in their way. The Zorth had technology and tactics that were both brutal and efficient. Their ships were heavily armored and armed with weapons that could devastate entire planets. Their soldiers were relentless, driven by a fanatical belief in their own superiority. The news of the Zorth invasion sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session to address the crisis. Councillor Zylar, representing the Joint Task Force, took the floor. Esteemed councillors, the Zorth Imperium poses a threat unlike any we have faced before. Zylar said, "We must unite our forces and leverage the advancements made by the task force to defend our worlds." The councillors debated fiercely, but it was clear that immediate action was needed. The Joint Task Force was mobilized, with Dr. Park and her team working around the clock to adapt their technologies for combat against the Zorth. President Martinez addressed the galaxy in a broadcast. "We face a formidable enemy, but we are not alone. The Terran Federation, in partnership with the Galactic Council, will stand against the Zorth Imperium. Together, we will protect our homes and our way of life." The task force's first priority was to deploy the planetary shields to protect key worlds from orbital bombardment. Engineers and scientists from multiple species collaborated to ensure the shields were operational and could withstand the Zorth's formidable firepower. Meanwhile, military strategists devised a plan to counter the Zorth fleet. They proposed a series of coordinated strikes to disrupt the Zorth supply lines and communication networks. The goal was to weaken the enemy before they could launch a full-scale invasion. Admiral Mark Foster, a decorated human officer, was appointed to lead the combined fleet. He had a reputation for strategic brilliance and unyielding determination. His presence inspired confidence among the Allied forces. "We have faced many challenges, but this is our greatest test," Admiral Foster said in his address to the troops. "The Zorth believe they can conquer us, but they underestimate our resolve. We will show them that the strength of our alliance is greater than their arrogance." The first major engagement took place in the Aegis system, a strategic choke point. The combined fleet, consisting of ships from the Terran Federation, Crixan Empire, Hydrosian Republic, and Katarian clans, awaited the arrival of the Zorth Armada. As the Zorth ships emerged from hyperspace, the Allied forces unleashed a barrage of firepower. The battle was fierce, with both sides sustaining heavy losses. The planetary shields held, protecting the civilian population from the devastating attacks. Admiral Foster directed the battle with precision, exploiting the weaknesses in the Zorth formation. The Joint Task Force's advanced weapons and tactics proved effective, but the Zorth's sheer numbers and relentless aggression pushed the Allied forces to their limits. In the midst of the chaos, Dr. Park's team activated a prototype weapon, a gravitic disruptor designed to destabilize the Zorth ship's engines. The disruptor sent out a pulse that caused several Zorth vessels to lose control and crash into each other, creating a temporary opening in their lines. "Focus fire on the breach," Foster commanded. "We have them on the run." The Allied forces pressed the attack, exploiting the opening created by the disruptor. The Zorth fleet began to falter, their formation breaking apart under the relentless assault. As the battle raged on, a lone Zorth battleship, larger and more heavily armed than the rest, emerged from the rear of the fleet, its weapons charged, ready to unleash a devastating attack on the Allied flagship. Admiral Foster recognized the threat immediately. "All ships, concentrate fire on that battleship. We cannot let it target the flagship." The combined firepower of the Allied fleet converged on the Zorth battleship. The shields of the massive vessel flickered and failed under the onslaught. With a final, desperate push, the Allied forces managed to breach the hull, causing a massive explosion that lit up the battlefield. The destruction of the Zorth battleship marked a turning point in the battle. The remaining Zorth ships, demoralized and disorganized, began to retreat. The Allied forces pursued them, ensuring that they would not regroup and launch another attack. As the dust settled, the Allied fleet regrouped and assessed the damage. The victory came at a high cost, but it was a crucial first step in the war against the Zorth Imperium. Admiral Foster addressed the troops, his voice filled with determination. "We have shown the Zorth that we will not be conquered. This victory is just the beginning. We will continue to fight, to protect our homes and our way of life. Together, We are unstoppable. The Battle of the Aegis system was hailed as a triumph of unity and resilience. The Joint Task Force's technologies and tactics had proven their worth, and the spirit of cooperation among the allied species had been forged in the fires of battle. But the war was far from over. The Zorth Imperium was a formidable foe, and the galaxy braced itself for the battles yet to come. The Joint Task Force redoubled its efforts, knowing that the future of countless worlds depended on their success. The final stand, the war against the Zorth Imperium, continued to rage across the galaxy. Each battle tested the limits of the Allied forces, but their resolve remained unbroken. The Joint Task Force, with its advanced technologies and strategies, played a crucial role in turning the tide. Admiral Foster, now a revered figure among the Allied species, led the combined fleet with unwavering determination. His strategic brilliance and ability to inspire his troops had earned him the respect and admiration of soldiers and civilians alike. Dr. Park and her team continued to innovate, developing new weapons and defenses to counter the ever-evolving Zorth tactics. The gravitic disruptor had been a game-changer, but they knew that the Zorth would adapt. They needed to stay one step ahead. The Galactic Council, recognizing the importance of the task force's work, provided additional resources and support. The initial tensions and mistrust had given way to a shared sense of purpose and camaraderie. The counselors who had once been skeptical now championed the task force's efforts. As the war dragged on, intelligence reports indicated that the Zorth were planning a final, all-out assault on the Viridian system. Viridian Prime, the heart of the Galactic Council and the headquarters of the Joint Task Force, was the ultimate prize. If the Zorth could capture it, they would shatter the Alliance and plunge the galaxy into chaos. The Allied forces prepared for the battle of a lifetime. Every ship, every soldier, and every piece of technology was mobilized for the defense of Viridian Prime. The stakes had never been higher. Admiral Foster addressed the combined fleet from the bridge of the flagship. "This is it, everyone. The Zorth are coming for Viridian Prime, and we must hold the line. The future of the galaxy depends on us. Stand strong, fight with everything you have, and remember what we are fighting for. Together, we will prevail." The Zorth fleet arrived in overwhelming numbers, their ships blotting out the stars. The Allied fleet, though outnumbered, was determined to make a stand. The planetary shields activated, creating a shimmering barrier around Viridian Prime. The battle began with a ferocity unmatched in the history of the galaxy. The Zorth ships unleashed a torrent of firepower, but the planetary shields held. The Allied fleet responded with coordinated strikes, targeting the Zorth's command ships and supply vessels. Admiral Foster directed the battle with precision, anticipating the Zorth's moves and countering them with tactical brilliance. Dr. Park's team activated a new weapon, an energy-dampening field that disrupted the Zorth's energy weapons, reducing their effectiveness. Despite their efforts, the sheer number of Zorth ships began to take its toll. The planetary shields started to weaken under the relentless assault. The Allied fleet fought valiantly, but losses mounted on both sides. In the midst of the chaos, a transmission came through from Dr. Park. "Admiral, we have one last weapon that might turn the tide. It's risky, but it's our best shot." "Do it," Foster replied without hesitation. "We have no other choice." Dr. Park's team activated the weapon, a device designed to generate a massive electromagnetic pulse. The pulse would disable the Zorth ship's systems, leaving them vulnerable to attack. However, it would also temporarily disable the Allied ship systems, creating a window of opportunity, but also a moment of vulnerability. The pulse generator charged up, and with a blinding flash, the EMP was unleashed. The battlefield was plunged into darkness as the Zorth ship systems went offline. The Allied ships, prepared for the momentary blackout, quickly rebooted and launched a coordinated assault. The Zorth fleet, caught off guard and unable to respond, was decimated. The Allied forces pressed the attack, taking advantage of the chaos to inflict maximum damage. The tide had turned, and the Zorth fleet began to retreat. Admiral Foster's voice rang out over the comms. "All ships pursue and eliminate the remaining Zorth forces. We cannot allow them to regroup." The Allied fleet chased the fleeing Zorth ships, ensuring that they would not pose a threat again. The battle for Viridian Prime was over, and the Allied forces had emerged victorious. As the smoke cleared and the debris settled, the full extent of the devastation became apparent. The cost of victory had been high, but the Zorth Imperium had been defeated. The galaxy breathed a collective sigh of relief. The Galactic Council convened to honor the heroes of the war and to plan for the future. Admiral Foster and Dr. Park were celebrated for their leadership and ingenuity. The Joint Task Force had proven that cooperation and unity could overcome even the most formidable of foes. Counselor Xylar addressed the assembly. "We have faced a great darkness and emerged stronger for it. The victory against the Zorth Imperium is a testament to the power of unity. Let us continue to work together to build a future of peace and prosperity for all species." President Martinez echoed his sentiments. "The Terran Federation is proud to stand with the Galactic Council. Together, we have shown that there is no challenge we cannot overcome. Let us move forward with hope and determination, knowing that our greatest strength lies in our unity." The war had forged bonds between species that would last for generations. The Joint Task Force, born out of necessity, had become a symbol of what could be achieved when differences were set aside in pursuit of a common goal. As the galaxy began to rebuild, the lessons learned from the war against the Zorth Imperium would guide the path forward. The future was uncertain, but with the spirit of cooperation and resilience that had been forged in the fires of battle, there was hope for a brighter tomorrow. Epilogue. A legacy of unity. Years passed, and the galaxy slowly healed from the scars of war. The Joint Task Force, once a temporary alliance, had become a permanent institution. Its mission expanded beyond military defense to include scientific research, humanitarian aid, and cultural exchange. Viridian Prime, the headquarters of the task force, became a symbol of unity and cooperation. Representatives from countless species worked side by side, their shared experiences fostering mutual respect and understanding. Dr. Helen Park continued to lead groundbreaking research, her contributions shaping the future of galactic technology. Admiral Mark Foster, now retired, served as an advisor, his wisdom and experience guiding the next generation of leaders. Counselor Xylar, who had played a pivotal role in bridging the divide between species, was elected as the first president of the Galactic Alliance, a new governing body formed to promote peace and cooperation across the galaxy. President Elena Martinez, whose leadership had been instrumental in forging the alliance, remained a respected figure, her legacy of diplomacy and strength remembered by all. The Terran Federation and the Galactic Council, once wary allies, had become true partners. The shared challenges and victories had woven their destinies together, creating a bond that transcended species and borders. The story of the Joint Task Force and the war against the Zorth Imperium became a tale told to future generations. It was a reminder that even in the darkest times, hope and unity could prevail. The lessons learned from the conflict would guide the galaxy for centuries to come. And so, the galaxy moved forward, united in its diversity and strengthened by its shared history. The future held many challenges, but with the spirit of cooperation and resilience that had been forged in the fires of battle, there was hope for a brighter tomorrow. The legacy of the Joint Task Force was a testament to the power of unity, a beacon of hope in an uncertain universe. The galaxy had faced a great darkness and emerged stronger for it, ready to face whatever the future might hold.